Good morning, everyone. Chris here at All Leeds TV, and I just wanted to do a morning after the night before look back across our whole transfer window. Firstly, let me apologise for the background noise. I've just got back in from walking the dog. He's been chasing sticks around, so he's knackered, but decides to sit right next to me because I'm going to do something like this. It is 6:45 on Friday morning, so excuse me if I slur my words and don't make much sense at times, but I just wanted to get something out because what started so well finished on a bit of a bum note, didn't it, last night? It really did. But I'm going to get into that in a minute. So, first of all, please, as usual, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, etc., etc. Your support for the channel is always appreciated. Right, so let's get into the transfer window. So, let's think back right to the beginning. Started okay, didn't it? Started okay. Bringing in players like Brendan Aronson, Tyler Adams, Mark Rocker, Christensen, Darko Gyavi from Man City, who I think is a real prospect. We then saw Sonny Perkins coming later on. You know, we've brought in a backup keeper in Robles, although I've no idea what he's like, etc., etc. So the early incomings look really promising, right? And I think we've seen that in early games, that the majority of them have started really well with Leeds United, look like they fit, etc. So everyone's a bit positive. Now, outgoings, we've got a few fringe players leave, but obviously the big two are Rafinha and Calvin Phillips. I've personally not got a problem with either of them leaving. Rafa always wanted to go to a club like Barcelona. You know, it tends to be a lot of Brazilians' dream to play for Barca. And I wish him all the luck in the world. Hopefully, I think today's the deadline for Barca to make their payment. So let's see what's happened. Let's see what happens, should I say. The Calvin one sits a bit differently for me. I can understand someone wanting to go for more money, you know, potentially chance to play in the Champions League. I can sort of understand it, etc. Being a footballer is a short career, but the club wanted him to stay around. I think some of the rumblings about how this transfer came about, etc., don't paint him in the best light, let's say. And he's gone to City, let's be honest, to sit on the bench. That's just a fact. I'm sorry, Rodri, you know, unless something savage happens to Rodri where he's going to be out for a long period of time, Calvin's football time, pitch time is going to be very limited. It's just bare facts. Rodri's a far better player. And then it all sort of goes quiet, right? So we brought all these new incomings in. We sell Calvin and Rafinha, and the squad start to gel, start to work with Jesse pre-season. We start seeing signs in pre-season of how this is going to work a little bit, and we're like, okay, I can see some potential in these players that we've brought in. And then we start the season, and we're off to a flyer, you know, picking up points. Okay, you know, the Wolves game was a comeback of sorts, and we had a 20-minute spell where we couldn't get the ball, but we look stronger. We look better, certainly than the start of last season. You know, then the draw with Southampton, which should have been a win. Then we pumped Chelsea, who, as their season continues, probably isn't as great a result as it first looked. As since then, Saints have beat them. You know, then we lose to Brighton, which was a poor game. I don't think there was one standout player in that game. And then we draw with Everton, which by far the better team, but lacking that cutting edge. Included in that, Rodrigo pops his shoulder. It looks like, I would say, 4 to 6 weeks for me. I know the club are saying 4. I'd say 4 to 6 weeks. Bamford still can't get fit. Let's hope now he made an appearance off the bench for 20 minutes, whatever it was. Let's hope he can stay fit, but we can't have any confidence in that, right? After the last season, a little bit, you can't be confident in that. So we get to transfer deadline day, and No, let's backtrack. We get to the Everton game and the programme notes come out about, 2 international number 9s and, not blocking the youth, the brightest young striking talent in the Premier League from Angus. And it just doesn't sit right. Rodrigo's not seen a Spain number 9 shirt for quite a long time now. Patrick Bamford had one appearance for England and then started with the injury stuff. It's a stretch, right? It's a stretch. Factually, it's correct what Angus said, 2 international number 9s. But trying to sell that off to the fans, it's a stretch. Buddy, quiet. So it just doesn't sit right. And I know it angered a lot of fans. And I wasn't overly impressed. And at the time, I was like, I'd just take it as a bit of tongue-in-cheek. I think he likes to throw the fishing rod out now and again. And then we get to deadline day. Then the rumours start circulating, as they always do. And Leeds fans fear the worst, as we always do on deadline day, because our track record is not great, is it? Let's be brutally honest. We don't tend to do well on deadline day. And we have the Bamba Dieng thing, where it looks like it's all agreed. He's sat on a plane in Nice. And then Nice come knocking and he sits and ums and ahs about it and he decides, no, Nice is his preferred destination. He wants to play in the Farmers League, Ligue 1. He wants to stay there. He goes off to Nice for his medical, fails it with a bad knee. So we've escaped one there. But it doesn't forgive the process that the club went through to try and get him. We didn't act quick enough. During this time of him deciding between Leeds and Nice, etc., or on his way to the private plane, Andrea Radrizzani puts that tweet out that I think everyone now who'll be watching this will have seen on social media or firsthand from Rads himself on Twitter. And it's just stupid. It's just stupid. Don't commit to anything until it can't be undone. It's such bad business, such bad PR, etc., etc. Everything. It's just bad. You don't do it to appease a few fans on, the most vile platform there is on Twitter. Say, Diang's done and we're going to keep chasing Gakpo, as he called him. Gakpo, really. We're going to try and get that one done. And you just like, it's feeding false hope, right? It's feeding false hope. Just don't do it. He's been around the club long enough now to know you don't dangle these carrots to Leeds fans. We had the old Adam Forshaw tweet whenever it was, and going back Badgegate and stuff like that. This isn't the first balls up that's come, and people have got a lot of love for Rads and the group. And, the first thing that always comes back is, well, would you have rather Cellino or Bates? And it's, you've got 3 people, right? You've got someone who, goes out and attempts to murder someone. You've got someone who's an arsonist and goes and burns a building down. And you've got someone who commits burglary, right? So 3 people. So Cellino, Bates, Radrizzani. I'm not saying they're doing those things. I'm comparing it to something. Are you saying that the person who only burgles shouldn't be prosecuted because it's not as bad as arson or attempted murder or whatever else? So don't worry about that. I mean, that is the attitude that the police seem to be taking at the minute, but it's not right? So just because Rads is better than what Cellino and Bates offered doesn't make him some kind of godlike figure where he can't be criticised. And we've supported Rads a lot because he has done a lot for the club. There's no denying that. His biggest win was obviously deciding with his board to bring Bielsa in because it got us to where we were, right? Or to where we are. But he's just stop with the social media stuff for starters. Stop trying to appease a small part of the fan base on Twitter and making yourself look stupid. because that tweet didn't read very well. And if I'm Bamba Dieng sat on the tarmac at Nice and I see that and I'm like, so hang on, they're trying to sign me, but they're also trying to bring in Gakpo, who seems to be a bigger target for them. Nah, I'm out, mate. I'm going to go somewhere that wants me and, as a big signing. So the optics aren't great. Dieng decides to go Nice, fails his medical, blah, blah, blah. For me, the Gakpo stuff was never going to happen. PSV didn't want to sell him. Saying we'll go back in January, which I think he's already said, or there's been, murmurings from the club. It won't happen. It won't happen mid-season after a World Cup. And if it does happen, it'll be for far more money. And it wouldn't surprise me if Gakpo over the next few days signs a new deal that basically bumps his value up. So this will continue to pursue in January. I don't buy a word of it. Again, it's appeasing fans. So, and I'm going to get to the final bit of, not the final bit of business, but the last bit of business I want to discuss right at the end, which is the last outgoing from Leeds. So Gakpo's never going to happen. So we bring in Wilfried Gnonto, excuse the pronunciation. I'm not sure how it's pronounced. I know very little of the kid. I obviously had a look last night when it was announced. And for me, and again, people will get this wrong. Will get me wrong here. They'll think I'm having a go at the signing. I think Wilfried Gnonto is a good signing. I think the kid's got a bright future. However, I like the fact that the club work around this model of buy low, sell high. It keeps us in business. It's the way a lot of Premier League clubs have got to work nowadays. However, sometimes in business or sport or anything, in any walk of life, you doing something at home, a tap starts leaking heavily. You're not like, well, I'll repair it in 12 months. You need to deal with some situations right now. And what needed dealing with right now was a Premier League ready striker. Now, I'm not talking someone who potentially go get 20, 30 goals, because they're rare. They're hard to come by. There isn't 1,000 Erling Haalands out there or people of that stature, and certainly not that we can afford. But someone who's a bit battle hardened, I mean, I'm not a massive fan of Ben Brereton Diaz, but for me, for right now, he's probably a better option than Wilfried Gnonto. Others, Hwang, played a bit in the Premier League now. Yeah, he's a diving muppet, but, they'd soon slap that out of him. Che Adams has been spoken about. None of these, make you sit up and go, wow, that's the blockbuster signing of the summer for us. But it adds that strength in depth. Rodrigo's injured. Bamford can't stay fit. Joffy gets injuries, and Joffy isn't ready to play 20, 25, 30 league games for Leeds in the Premier League at the minute. He will be, but not yet. He's getting injuries. He's still growing into himself. He's still, improving as a young player. And he is a fabulous talent, and he will be big for Leeds, but we can't rely on a kid of 19, whatever he is, to be our main goal scorer in what is probably the hardest league in the world to score goals in, right, at times. So it doesn't work for me. And that, again, that's not me saying Gnonto is a bad signing. I just don't think he's the right signing for right now. I think that it's negligence from the club. I really do. Absolute negligence. This isn't a surprise that we need a striker. It's been going on for months, windows. It's been going on for. We need a striker. Nothing. We also need a left back. I'm not going to get into that today because that was just never going to happen yesterday. Which again it's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. I think we've got one left back recognised left back at the club at first team or 23s level, and he's injured. And he's not been great when he's been fit, has he, so far? So it just baffles me. It baffles me. Now, I hope Gnonto comes in and, Jesse has a look at him in training and thinks, oh, actually, this kid, he is ready for the Premier League. Because Jesse said a couple of weeks ago, he's one for the future. And let's get into that, because the crap argument that comes from the board all the time about signing another striker is we don't want to block the youth. That's wearing thin, because you've just bought another youth player alongside Sonny Perkins. You know what I mean? Matteo Joseph a window or so ago. These are all competing with each other, right? So they're blocking each other. Not all of them will come through. So it's bollocks, right? Let's call it what it is. It's absolute bollocks. It's excuse making, etc., etc. Now, I like having a conveyor belt of youth coming through, but if we weren't bothered about bringing proper players in because we didn't want to block the youth, why is Lewis Bate out on loan? Why is Charlie Creswell out on loan? Because we brought better players in. Well, not in Charlie's case, actually, but we brought, like Lewis Bate, we brought better players in the position he plays for the here and now. Your Tyler Adams, your Mark Rockers, etc. So Lewis goes out on loan. Now, I'm not saying Joffrey should be out on loan, but we can't be using that as an excuse about blocking the youth. It's absolute crap. I'm sure Jesse internally, buddy, give up. Sorry. I'm sure Jesse internally is fuming. We know he wanted a striker. We know he wanted a left back. He will play the party line. At the end of the day, Andrea, the club, are his bosses. He won't be making a Scott Parker type statement, or I very much doubt it. But it's through the early window and the start of the season, the club seemed to build a lot of goodwill with the fans, right? Everyone was up. Everyone was positive. You always get a few naysayers, but the people whinge about anything. But there was a lot of goodwill built. We were looking good. The system looks to be working most of the time. Not all the time, but the players are still adapting. And it felt like the club was all together. After the debacle of last season, the fallouts about sacking a manager, which are still rumbling on. I still see Marcelo would have kept us up. In 5 years, am I still going to be seeing that? Everyone was divided. Everyone was falling out. And then we have a good summer. And everyone's like, oh, okay. Time to get behind the manager, get behind the team. Let's do this. And then in one day, the club managed to untie most of that. Only Leeds United. And that brings me to my final point. Dan James. You can love him or not like him in a Leeds shirt and ask what he offers. But we as fans, and, we learnt our lessons, Andrea, all the rest of it. We have all screamed that we need as much squad depth as possible. We then send Dan James out on loan for a year to Fulham, a league rival. And I don't care for you more optimistic fans who seem to think we'll be banging on the door of Europe. Fulham are a league rival for Leeds United as we sit. Fulham did absolute bits in the market yesterday, by the way. Absolute bits. Go away and have a look at their signings yesterday. Superb. So we send Dan James on loan to Fulham. What? Yes, for me, at Leeds, he's getting up to fitness. He won't start every game. But injuries happen, suspensions happen. He can play on either side of the front three or a front four, whichever way you want to set up. Yes, all right, his numbers aren't fantastic, but he's an option. He's a squad option. He's an option off the bench. Daniel, you've got absolute, rocket fuel in those feet. last 20 minutes, go and absolutely terrorise their left back, their right back, go make something happen. No, let's ship him out to Fulham. And I'm not buying, some fans instantly turn to the club's skin. They're not skin. We've net zeroed transfer-wise. Maybe spent about 3 million now with Gnonto coming in over what we've brought in from sales. It's not skin. It's not a money thing. I understand wage bills and you need to keep them within a certain line and all the rest of it. But it's just poor. And that is actually, alongside not bringing in a proper striker for now, in my opinion, and I hope Gnonto proves me wrong, but he's an 18-year-old who's been playing in Switzerland. Yes, he's had 4 Italy caps. There's no doubt he's got a massive future ahead of him. We didn't bring in a striker, especially after Rodrigo getting injured. We didn't bring in a striker for now to push the current crop. And we send Dan James to Fulham. And the Dan James one really pickles my head. I just don't get it. I just don't get it. And it's just bad optics again from the board. And I think they messed Dan James. I think Dan James has been treated pretty badly by the club. Bring him in for 25 million, play him out of position most of the time, which makes him a sacrificial lamb to a lot of the fans who just want to get at him because he's been put in the number 9 role as a small lad and doesn't get a hat full of goals. Then we ship him out to Fulham. Then we make him sit down at Fulham all night while we decide whether we're going to give the green light or not. Stinks of the whole Swansea fiasco when they did it to us. On a human level, treat the kid right. He's never not tried for Leeds United. He's never moaned. He's never complained. He gets on with it. He plays out of position. He gives his all. Whether the end product is good or not, you can never question Dan James's effort. Yeah, all right, he let us down against Chelsea last season with the sending off and stuff, but mistakes happen. It's really, really just bad form by those people at the top of our club. So, in summary, I guess, what started well ends like an absolute shit show. It really does. The tweet, the Dieng thing, the Gakpo nonsense, the panic buying of Wilfried Gnonto because he was a target for down the line for me. The Dan James stuff. It's just dimmed the light heavily on what was a really positive summer up till the last couple of days. And I am disappointed. I am. I really am. I just think it's just embarrassing, right? As a fan, I'm sat there early morning, absolutely chortling my nuts off that Man United have had their eyes taken out for paying that kind of money for Anthony, and it ends with Man United fans hammering me because our chairman's a Wally. The joys of football, eh? And for those of you who are newer to Leeds United, our friends, our new fans across the pond, this is when I've been saying the last few streams, it's a roller coaster is supporting Leeds United. Here it is in a nutshell, and what a ball wasn't even kicked. This is Leeds United in a nutshell. This isn't a new thing. This isn't a one-off. This is just how Leeds tend to do things. Just do something really well. Well, we look quite good now, so let's balls it up. I'm going to leave it there, gang, because I wanted to keep this quite short. It is early in the morning. I'm sat here rubbing my eyes. The dog's finally buggered back off to bed instead of stood next to me panting. Please get your comments down below. Let me know what you think. Is it a disappointing end to the transfer window for you? Are you happy? Do you know more about this Wilfried Gnonto than I do? Do you think he's a great signing? Do you think he's ready to step straight in? I'll be really interested to see people's views. Again, these are just my views. And I would suggest the views of quite a few people online last night from what I saw. But let me know what you think. And please, like I said at the beginning, hit that like button hit that subscribe button, and just keep tuned to All Leeds TV. There'll be plenty more content. I think Oscar's going to do a transfer window reaction. Jack did one last night. As usual with Jack, very passionate from the heart. Again, you may not always agree with what we say, but you can't argue the passion's there. And, we just want the best for this football club. Let's see what the Brentford game brings, eh? I'll leave it there. Have a good Friday. Have a good weekend. And I will catch you all on the other side. Cheers, gang.